Hi, welcome back. This segment we're going to start working on the Clematis, and in this one we are going to be doing the wrist strap, and also we will do the putting the body together, there we go, and the inside slip pocket. So that's what's going to be covered on this one. I said we were going to have some humps and bumps and stuff in here, and this segment you're going to find probably I couldn't re-record it because there was too much stuff to redo. I've got a couple of different technologies in here and didn't work out quite the way I wanted to, but I think I'm on the right track getting things figured out. So hopefully the second segment of all of this, or the finishing up, will go a little bit smoother and stuff. You're going to hear some banging and clanging that it's annoying, but there wasn't a lot I can do about it, but I think I have the problem fixed. So anyway, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you find it useful, and look for some improvements for the second part. So thank you again so much for joining me. I'm going to start by using my full-size pattern, and I'm just going to trace the outline. There we go. And I'm going to cut that out. We're going to do the same thing with the lining as well. So I'm just going to use my template and copy all the way around. Again, the pen that I'm using is the purple air erase marker, so if I write on my pattern or make mistakes and stuff, it's gone anyway. So, and I'm going to cut that one out as well. Because I'm going to be making a whole bunch of these, I actually did pre-cut all my interfacings. So this is the interfacing for the pockets. Sometimes it's kind of easier to assembly line them and stuff. So, and I have a stack of them pre-cut as well for this is for the lining, and the fusible fleece is for the body on the outside. So I have done, this is of course the outside of the body, and I have the fusible fleece fused to it. So that's that. I'm just going to show you this quickly. This is the little card slot hack that I did. It's in a separate video, and any of the hacks that I do I'll actually be putting in separate videos. So in this one I'm going to be doing the way that Celine does it in her instructions, and then if you want to do some of the hacks and stuff like that I've done, you can just go to the other videos and insert them. So I will, as I go along, even in this one, I'll let you know that there's other hacks out there, and you can have a look at them if you'd like. And the last one to cut out is the slip pocket. Sometimes, depending on the use of my fabric, I'll do one side is the lining fabric, just the plain, because it's on the inside, you don't see it anyway, and then the outside would actually be the outside fabric, so there's some contrast and you can see the pocket a little bit better. For this purpose, I'm just going to go ahead and do just the plain slip pocket. And on the slip pocket, remember, only one side gets interfaced. Don't want the slip pocket, we want it to have a little bit of firmness and structure, but we don't want it to get too thick, so we just interface one side. I have this really nice red vinyl that looks really good with the red and stuff in here, so I'm going to use that to cut out the bottom piece, the little accent piece on the bottom. So that's what I'm going to do now. And again, I'm just going to outline 2 of these because I'm not doubling my fabric, and cut those out. Those don't need to be fused. We don't need any interfacing on them because they are thick enough. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Now the last thing that needs to be cut out is the wrist strap, the D-ring strap, and the zipper tabs. So what I'm going to do, I don't normally make my straps out of fabric. I do vinyl. I will do a hack on that, do another little video, but for me to get the best use of my fabric, I'm going to end up having to do a seam in the strap, but I'm okay with that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and take a 4-inch strip. The wrist strap is 4 inches wide by 15 inches long. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to have way too much. The length is going to be a lot more than what I need, but I'm going to end up using this same piece, the extras for the D-ring strap and the zipper tabs. So I'll show you what I do with that. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to sew a seam across here so I have one big piece. Now I'm showing you this more for illustration purposes than anything. I have my 15 by 4-inch piece, and you can see here I have my seam. And then I also have, this is my 3 by 3 piece. Now this is for the D-ring strap. And then I needed 2 pieces that are 1.5 inches wide by 2 inches, and that is going to be for the zipper tabs. So I'm just gonna go ahead and trim that out. Normally I wouldn't actually write that out or show that. I would just do it, measure it with my ruler and go ahead. So we have all of our pieces all cut out and have all of the interfacing. In this case we've got the fusible fleece on the back of the body cover, or the outside body. So we have the outside body. This is for the wrist strap. This is for the D-ring strap. We have the bottom, the vinyl piece for the bottom, the lining, the pocket, the inside pocket, and the zipper. Now, again, I don't use prepared zippers. I use zipper tape. So I have one here put together, an 8-inch one. And we've got the pieces for the zipper tabs. So now we're ready to put everything together. The first thing that we're going to work on is, this is the 3 by 3 piece for the D-ring strap. So we're going to start, it's interfaced on this side. So just going to fold it in half, give it a press. And then we're going to fold it again, both ways. Fold it into the middle and in half again. So there we have that one. We're going to do the same thing with the wrist strap. I try to make sure that before I press it, I know that I have my 2 edges here, that they're going to line up nicely so I don't have something overhanging really bad. And there we have it. I'm going to work on this little D-ring strap. I actually have, I don't have the right size. She calls for 5/8. I don't have 5/8. I only have 1/2 inch. So what I actually had to do was, when I was making this little strap, I had to trim it down. So instead of being 3 inches by 3 inches, I had to trim this down, and I'm 2 inches by 3 inches because I still want the length. But I had to change the width of it so that when it's folded, I have 1/2 inch finished so that my D-ring will slip onto there. If it was bigger, then it wouldn't slide on there really nicely. So that's what, now I'm just going to do the top stitching on this. And I don't have to back stitch because I don't need it secured. And I'm just choosing to use the blue thread just because I've got lots of colors in there. And then I'm just going to slip it on. Oops. I've used just neutral on the back because it doesn't matter because you're not going to see it. So I'm just going to put that on there, and I'm just going to baste stitch. There we go. And I can set that aside. So this is my strap, my wrist strap that I have folded and then folded again. So I have 1 inch. Before I can stitch all of this down, I need to put my hardware on. So I'm going to put this on and slide it on like that. Then I'm going to open this back up on both sides. I don't do a lot of pinning, but when it comes to stuff like this where I really would like to keep it from shifting around, and it's funny folds and stuff like that, so it just doesn't lay really flat. So I just throw a few pins in there. Now I can stitch this closed. I don't want to show you every time I iron anything. This is a little tool, I guess, that I bought at a fabric store. I think it's for doing sleeves and collars. And it's just a little wooden piece, has a base and this narrow piece on top. It has come in really handy when I'm doing handbags, because trying to press things, like now this little seam, I can just kind of wrap it around instead of trying to lay it flat on my ironing board. So I'm just going to lay this on here. And there I go. So that has given me a really nice open flat seam. So I've got that pressed. Now I'm going to just fold this back up, because now I'm going to do my top stitching. So let's see if I can get you down in here. I'm just going to take this off so I have an open arm. Makes it a little bit easier. There we go. So now I'm just on the other side. You just kind of end up chasing your
Oh, and I looked, I went off there because I was looking at my hardware. Sorry about that. Yeah, you kind of end up chasing your hardware around, but it just kind of slips through, so. And I just go back over my stitching, so I don't need to back stitch if I don't want to. And that's that. Now the last thing that we're going to do here with the wrist strap is we're just going to sew kind of a square here to secure everything together. So this is about as close as my presser foot will allow me to get to the swivel clasp, that is. And I'm just going to go back over my stitching again over here. So there you have it. So now everything is secured in, and that is the wrist strap. So we're going to set that aside and continue on. So now we're moving on to the assembly of the outside. We're going to start off, fold this in half because we want to find center. So I'm going to find the center and just mark it. I'm going to do that on both of those pieces, and I'm also going to do that on the bottom vinyl pieces. So there I have my centers. One of the things that it's actually, Celine doesn't have it in her instructions, but this is what I like to do because it helps when you're trying to get around this corner, is I end up just clipping. But we've got a 3/8 inch seam allowance, and I don't want to go all the way into 3/8 inch. It doesn't take much, even a little less than a 1/4 inch makes a big difference. It just takes a little bit of the strain off of the edge, I find. So now I'm lining up the center of the body with the center of my little contrast piece. So I'm going to start there and clip that. I'm just going to work it. And you can kind of see how, as I'm moving this, my where I've clipped it, it's opening up a little bit. And even just that little tiny bit really seems to make a big difference in when you're trying to sew it in. So I can just get it to bend just a little bit nicer. So I'm just going to go ahead and stitch this out now. So of course it's going to move as soon as I take my clips off, but I'm just going to kind of push it over and hold it as I'm going. So I'm just going to manipulate it. I'm just going to kind of keep pushing it until it gets to the edge where I want it. And there's no point for me anyway in trying to go fast, because I'm not going to end up with what I'm hoping my final result is going to be. Now I get to the end. Coming around that and I'm going to back stitch. So what we end up is kind of these curly pieces, and I like to top stitch on my vinyl. Now in the instructions, Celine does the clipping after you sew this on. I prefer to do the little bit like I showed you. It has to be clipped anyway, and it could be done now instead of before. I just find it fits nicer. So this is actually all going to be pushed toward the vinyl. And once that's done, it lays really flat. So I'm going to take you over to my industrial machine, and I'm going to put some really pretty top stitching on this. So that's where we'll go next. So here we are at my industrial. Again, this is a walking foot. It's a compound feed. It's a walking foot and needle feed. So I'm going to start off doing, I think I'm just going to end up doing one row, but we'll see. I've got blue thread, and just again to do a nice contrast. And I'm just gently stretching this out so that my seam is going to end up laying nice and flat. And there we go. So we have that really pretty blue stitching on here. That top stitching. I'll give you a closer look at that after, but I love it. I love this machine, I really do. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the next one as well. So now we have the top stitching done. Isn't that pretty? I just love it. And I'm going to just trim off the little corners here, just so that everything is all even. I'm going to do that with all of them. And then we're going to start on the lining pieces. And yeah, that's the next one, is the lining pieces. So now we're going to work on the interior. So I have my 2 lining pieces. And this one I'm going to fold in half. And I'm going to mark my halfway points on the top and the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing on this one, but I'm going to do one more little step that makes it easier for me. Again, I'm using purple air erase marker, so any of my marks are going to be coming out just with a little bit of time. So I'm going to just give that a quick mark in the middle, because this one I'm actually going to use when I get to my slip pocket. I'm going to be able to use these marks to center it. And again, I have my pockets, and my choice is to do something just slightly different than the instructions. The instructions say to leave an opening at the top. I prefer to leave the opening at the bottom because I want a really nice straight flat seam at the top here. And I sort of don't care what it looks like at the bottom if that isn't perfect, because it's at the bottom of the bag and it's not going to show nearly as much as if we put it on the top. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm not going to take you with me. I'm going to mark for myself. I want to make sure that I have a 3-inch opening. So I'm just going to mark roughly 3 inches there. And I'm going to start, I'm going to back stitch, go all the way around, stop, and back stitch, and then I'll come back. So I've gone all the way around. I just put in a neutral thread. It's not going to show anyway, so it's no big deal. So I have my opening here. Now I'm going to go and actually I'm going to press this before I do anything else, because I am going to be trimming the corners and I'm going to trim all of this whole seam allowance. But while I still have a fair amount of fabric to work with, I'm going to fold this up, press it, and do the same thing on the back side, because that is going to give me, once it's all turned inside right, it'll give me the nice crisp edge that I don't have to fight with after once it's done. I already have that, and it's easier to do it now. So there, so now I've just pressed this. I don't really care about this other stuff because it's going to get trimmed off anyway, but I have a nice crisp edge there, and you'll see when I turn it inside out that it's going to be a lot nicer. It's going to be a lot flatter. So I'm going to go ahead, trim my corners. Try and get that a little closer. There you go. And right here, I'm going to open this up a little bit. I'm going to start kind of back a little ways, and I'm going to trim all of this to 1/8 of an inch. If you prefer to use pinking shears, that's all right too. I'm just going to keep trimming. So there I have my seam allowances trimmed. I've left the seam allowance for that fold, and I'm just going to turn it. I'm just going to get my handy little tool for turning. Again, this is quite normal in most sewing baskets. It's got a curved edge that does a nice job on the curved corners. And it's very pointy, so I try and be really, really gentle and careful when I'm doing these other ones. Otherwise, it can poke right through. Going to work at that a little bit. Sometimes a darning needle. There we go, got that nice corner there. Gently get that poked out again. There we go. So I'm going to press this. Now, I understand why they leave this top piece open, because then you can top stitch and then it's closed. I'm going to top stitch anyway, but when I go to press all of this, just going to work this a little bit. This edge is already so nice and even that when I top stitch the whole pocket down, once it's pressed, that little edge is going to be all lined up and everything, and it'll be nice and even, so you won't even notice it. So that's again my preference. So I've got my pocket turned, pressed, and I've just top stitched along the top edge up here. I've marked halfway just by folding it in half and marking it. Now I'm going to, this is the one that I had marked all the way through. I'm going to set that on there. I've got my marks, everything lines up. I'm just going to kind of, and this, you'll probably do more than one of these if you're like everybody else. You'll figure out there's no clear distance to actually be from the bottom or the top. So we just kind of end up centering it. Just going to pin it in place. I'll just do one here. It's not really going to go anywhere. And if you want to get real technical about it and stuff, the instructions say to start 1.5 inches from each side. I think for myself, I probably would go more like 1 inch. Otherwise, I don't think that there's enough of an opening there for my taste. So now when I go, I'm going to start here. I'm going to back stitch, go all the way around, and I'm going to stop and back stitch. So here we have it. I've got it all top stitched. We've started 1 inch, gone all the way around, back up and over, and I have my little pocket here. So there we have that. There's nothing on the other side. And I think I'm done for the evening. And tomorrow we're going to tackle the dreaded zipper tabs and zipper installation. It really isn't that hard, and I hope I'm going to show you the easiest way to do it all. So that's it for tonight, and I'll see you tomorrow.